Bruchim Aboim B'Shem Hashem. B'Shem Irgin Shir Termos Boston. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's shir. All the men here in the main shul, all the women in the Ezras Noshim, and everyone joining in through the phone and the streaming. Bruchim Aboim. To have the great Zchus of sponsoring a shir or putting an ad in the dinner journal on the occasion of Irgin Shir Ter's annual dinner next Wednesday. To help you mechazik the abotzas of Torah of Irgin Shir Ter throughout the year worldwide. Calls 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Tonight's shir is learned Lili Nishmas Nosen Nota Ben Simcha Ol Vashalom Yotzai V'Schav Ov and Ishposa Tzur B'Tzor HaChaim. Tonight we have the covered have with us once again Rabbi Moshe Tuvia Lieff Shlita, Rabbi Agudas Yisroel Bais Binyamin, to speak about starting fresh, having a great future. It's my cover to call on Rabbi Lieff for tonight's Rosh.
Shkoyach, Rav Bald, Rav Deutsch, Irgin Shirei Torah. We've been doing this for many years. The Chesed Elyon, first coming from Minneapolis and then here in Flatbush for 14 years. It's supposed to see Yedidim, Talmidei Chachomim, Chosh V'Rebetzins, Achai V'Rei. This year there's a bit of a wrinkle. That ordinarily every year I'd come to Boston, I would say Bereshus, the Boston Rebbe Shlita, or Davenenu Harav Hagoyin HaTzadik, Pinchas David Ber Moshe Alevi, the Boston Rebbe, was nostalgic. Susi Yogan Aleinu, he was a Goyin in Torah, in Midas, he established a choshev a chotzer here in Flatbush and beyond. We truly miss him. Today, Chof Ches Menachem Av is the old site of Merenu, Hagoyin, Rabbi Avram Pam, Rav Hagoyin, Rabbi Avram Yaakov Ben, Rav Hagoyin, Rav Meir Hagoyin Pam Zatzal. And as we're talking about a fresh start, I spoke today to one of his premier Talmidim, Rav Hagoyin Rav Yosef Eisen Shlita, who was very close to his Rebbe Rav Pam. He told me over something Rav Pam had said many, many times. But he said it through the prism of someone who we just heard it from again, a slightly different nusach. He said it from Rabbi Sion Bamberger. Taka Refuah Shleimah to Yedidi Rav Yosef Ben Sion Ben Keilah Shavu Refuah Shleimah. Rav Pam said on numerous occasions, quoting directly from Rabbi Itzel Petterberger and Rabbi Chaim Moise, Zechreinim Tzadikim Levracha, Susion Aleinu Al Kol Yisrael. He said there was a young lady who was Nifteres, and they came to Rav Pam, and Rav Bamberger, sein Gesund, was going to be maspid, and he said over to Rav Pam what he intended to say, and Rav Pam was maskim. But then Rav Pam added something. I believe he said there's a Kabbalah that the Kehillah, that Klal Yisrael should undertake, and it's based on what Reb Chaim Oize and Rabbi Itzler was said. And the nusach was have a hisragel lachshoiv terem kol dibur. Think before you speak. Said Merenu Rav Pam, how many shalom bias issues can be averted if the husband thought before he responded or said something? If the wife just worked out what exactly would be the reaction of her words? If partners thought before they spoke? If parents and children, if friends, if Klal Yisroel would undertake a Kabbalah to think before you speak. Realize that the average talk with any person has cosmic ramifications. Once the words are out, you can't bring them back. It's like squeezing the toothpaste out of the tube. It's like speaking Lashon Hara nicht eingedacht. Give you $1,000, you can't get the toothpaste back into the tube. Taking a feather pillow, opening up and discarding it over the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, how you get the feathers together? So this Yisoid, Rabbi Itzela said, and the Chaim Moses said, make a Kabbalah to think before you speak and respond. Rav Pam did not call these days Yomim Noiroim, horrifying days. He called them Yomim Nifloim, wondrous days. The opportunity is unbelievable, and it's Sibur of Charedim and Dvar Hashem that get together for Chizuk and Idud to strengthen ourselves in renewal, in starting fresh. What a gewaldige Tzibur of Bnei and Bnei Yisrael throughout the world and here in the Boston Koil, to be able to understand early on, even before Rosh Chodesh begins, how we can change our lives with a new fresh start. I don't know if you heard, but there's a legend about the Kelmer Goy. Who was the Kelmer Goy? There were two childhood friends in Talmud Torah Kelm, Bensi and Velvel. Bensi was the son of Agoin HaTzadik, Rav Eliel Apyan, and Velvel was the son of Agoin HaTzadik, Rav Elya Dessler. And one day Bensi comes running in and he says, Velvel, I have to tell you a maisa that just happened in the Mark von Kelm, in the marketplace of Kelm. A Yid and a guy almost got into a fracas, into a fist fight. The Eina Yehudi was a lumber merchant. Thank you, Rav Bolt. Rav Deutsch was a lumber merchant. And the Yid wanted to buy cords of wood. So discussing payment. And the Yid said, cash on delivery. You'll deliver the wood and I'll pay you. I said, what are you talking about? I've burned so many times by you guys. You pay me now or I don't deliver the wood. Back and forth, industry standard, cash on delivery. They're getting angry, infuriated, coming close to blows. All of a sudden, another guy runs out of the marketplace of Kelm and he taps the first guy on the shoulder and he says, you can trust him. It's Elul. You can trust the guy. The guy says you can trust the Yid. It's Elul. A Kelm guy knew what Elul was all about. You might have Hikuchim with Yidden, but Elul, they're all trustworthy. Can we say that today? Are we guaranteed that every Eina Yehudi looks at the Yidden during Elul and says you can trust them? It's Elul. That's what Elul is supposed to be. So Salanta said, the fish treislen in yam, that the fish tremble. The Goyim in Kelm knew the Jews were different because of Elul. What a beautiful Kabbalah from Rav Pam. In Elul, think before you respond. You want to say something? Do a marketing survey. How's it going to play out in Peoria? Will it be appreciated? Will it be denigrated? Is it going to hurt? Is it going to sting? Is it going to build up? How about kashe? Rosh Hashanah. How about kashe? Hayoim haras oilom, hayoim yamid b'mishpot kol yitzurei elomim. Rosh Hashanah is the day when the world was created. So to speak, the birthday of creation. And on this day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges kol yitzurei elomim, all of creation. The kasha is very practical. If we're being judged, it's for what we did and did not do. So why we judge the first day of the year? Right away, Shtamlichuni Aleichem, Saint Pachdecha, Rosh Hashanah is barely here. The year is a half an hour old. New. Should be judged the last day. The last day of Av. That's when we should be judged for the whole year. Halei to be judged the first day. And what's the connection to the birthday of the world? Why dafke? Because hayoim haras olam, hayoim yabid b'mishpat kol yitzurei elamim. Im kivonim, im kavodim. What's the atonement, the birthday of the world? There's one birthday that's recorded in the Torah. And don't tell me Aaron HaKohen. We all know his birthday is Rosh Chodesh Av, not recorded in the Torah. The only birthday recorded in the Torah is Hayom Huledes Es Paroi. The day that Paroi was born, his birthday is recorded. What does Paroi do on his birthday? He judges the realm. The Saramashkim reinstates, the Sarah Oifim he hangs. What does birthday have to do with judgment? The Pshat is as Paroi hat sich eingerett, krank. You can't explain it in English. He talked the illness into himself. Paroi hat getracht. He believed that he was a creator, that he created the Nilos. He was a deity. He created Mitzrayim. So the day of his creation coincided when he became the sovereign monarch and king of Egypt. Hayoim Haras Olam is the day that he created Mitzrayim. It's the day he was crowned as king. On that day, he judges the realm. Now, the Sar HaOifim did a minuscule crime compared to the Sar HaMashkim. The Sar HaOifim baked 1,000 loaves of bread that day. When Avtzalachas, in one of the slices, in Paris pastrami on rye, hold the mayo with deli mustard, and not stam pastrami, but juicy pastrami, Steingedacht. There was a pebble. It's a groise avla, 1,000 loaves of bread and one pebble. What about the Sar HaMashkim? The Sar HaMashkim was derelict in his duty. You see in the hieroglyphics. His job was to protect the wine at all cost. He had these huge plume ostrich feathers, and his job was to fan the area around Paroi to get rid of the flies. What happened? He was texting. He was sending an email. He wasn't paying any attention. And not only did a fly fall into the personal vat of wine, it fell into his personal cup. And not stam, it fell into his cup, but ended up doing the backstroke in his mouth. That's a gefährliche Avle. You like that one, huh? Backstroke in his mouth. The fly. What's your first name? Can't hear you. Nosson? Nosson Tzvi. It's a choshev name. Alter von Slabodka. Okay, you should come to more of my shiurim. You're at least chapping what I'm saying. Al Kaponim. Such an avla. It's a gefährliche avere. So the Saroi, from a minuscule crime, he's hung. And the Sar HaMashkim, on Pari's birthday, a day of amnesty, he becomes the chief wine steward. He's elevated. He's a nobleman. What's the pshat? Doesn't make any sense. You want to tell me it's general amnesty on his birthday? He became king. He became a god, a deity. I'm sugar it. It's a grand amnesty, clemency to all the prisoners. Oifim hung. Oh, Moshe! Moshe, he came by bike, yes or no? Yeah, Moshe is allein the tzaddik from Shem B'Shabbos Shul. Once came to one of my shiurim years ago, banged up, verklapped. He had been in a bicycle accident, and he was mamish beaten up. I don't know what the other guy looked like. And he came here for the shir. Now, Baruch Hashem, he looks healthy and well. The people that come to the shir are niflik people. Al kol panim. Let's continue. Why is the Sarah Oifim reinstated and the Sarah Mashkim hung? Because Rabbi say it has nothing to do with the past. It's all about the future. Pare makes a cheshbon. Who do I need for this year? Sarah Oifim have 1,000 bakeries. How many breadsmiths are there? Forget about the bakery. But Sarah Mashkim, there's only one who can create this elixir of life. Nobody makes wine like the Sarah Mashkim. I don't care about the past. Do you notice Rosh Hashanah? There's no ay 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 Oshamnu Bogadnu. This is like a highlight for the Litvaks. We finally get to sing the Rosh Hashanah. Gozalnu Dibanu Doifi. Al-Chait, 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 Al-Chait. The Rebbes used to say to Gera, don't get so involved with the Al-Chait. Just zoom through it. You start thinking, with all the Yukim and the type of Chet you did, you're even more Averis. Where's the Al-Chait from Rosh Hashanah? Oh, now's a good time to turn off the phones. Al-Kopanim, Al-Chet, Oshamnu, Rosh Hashanah doesn't exist. One could even say Tshuva is not highlighted in Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is all about shetamlichuni aleichem kabolas omachu shamayim. It's a commitment to the future. You're bargaining with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I dare say, Be'elam, you need me. You need to renew the contract. You need to give me panos. I buy lulovim and esregim. Shein, I do chesed. I prepare for tuition for my kids. Meinaklach. I help people with chesed and stocker. You need me. I need to be married, I need to have kids, I need to have 8 o'clock, they're going to make brachas. They're going to dress sneastik, they're going to learn Torah. It's all about a future. Das sagt die Gemara Rosh Hashanah. Daf Tezvav, Amar Rabbi Yitzchok. Ein donin es Adam elo lefi maisav shel oisai shah. Forget about yesterday. It's all about today, tomorrow. That's why the Sarah Mashkim is reinstated. Pari needed him. Sarah Oifim didn't need. So forget about the enormity of the crimes Rabbi say and Rabbi Tzanai say. It's not about that. Elul, Rosh Hashanah, is all about Kabbalah, Asamachu Shamayim, Shetamlichuni Aleichem. And it starts whatever Yoleinu L'Shabeach, L'Adoina Koel. Lo says, Guloli Yetzel B'Reishis. We connect with the Rebbeinu Shalom on a daily basis. Shetamlichuni Aleichem. And in Elul, it's fang sich schon an. Elul! Was is Elul? Ani l'daidi, l'daidi li. And get up a little earlier. Sfaradim, tzadikim, torim, slichot. Starts in the beginning. The Ashkantuzim, the Vuzvuzes, that's us. We start a little bit later. But the Dover HaShemayri, Ki HaShoifa, ganze Monat. Ani l'daidi, l'daidi li. That's Elul. What you put into it, you get out of it. I present myself to the Rebbeinu Shalom. I'm makabel oil malchus shamayim, v'chula makablam aleim malchus shamayim. It's relatively easy to coronate and crown the king over the purple mountain majesties, the floyis haboiche, but include yourself in the picture. You have to be a little different. Akel magoy dav zogen, you can trust him. It's Elul. What a moridik yesod. Think before you speak, says Marina of Pam Zatzal. So many times you get out of trouble by not saying anything. It's almost a mice with the Brisker Rov Zatzal. Certain fellow came to the Brisker Rov. He doesn't know how to extricate his foot from his mouth. Hoof and mouth disease. He said some things, and he's in big trouble. So what's the Eitzah? So the Rov told him, the mice with the balagola, the coachman. There was a season, balagola, for 5 decades, half a century. He was the balagola chuch. Vayavoy, not Haman, but competition. A young upstart starts taking away the business. So, Alta balagola, this is a 1-pony town. There's only enough schayre for 1 balagola. He says, you know what? I'm going to give you the balagola test. And if you pass the test, I resign. I'm going to retire. and you'll be the balagola. But if you fail, you got to leave town. Good. He's all ready. He wants to be the balagola. He says, Lo mezagen, you have a nice load of customers in your coach, and you're sailing down the road with your steeds, and all of a sudden, it starts getting muddy. And before you know it, you're bogged down in the mud. What do? You're the balagola. You have to transport them safely to Pachuch. Well, I guess they started in Pachuch, to Lvov. So what do you mean, what do I do? I flail the horses, I whip them, I threaten them. You're flailing, the wheels are spinning, you're not getting anywhere. I tell the people I feel really bad, but you have to get down in the mud, and we got to get going. Down in the mud, wheels are spinning, you're not going anywhere. You push, we'll pull, we'll get out of here. They're pushing, they're pulling, their luggage is splattered in mud, they're sinking in the mud, you're not budging. Okay? I run to a nearby town, and I get another team of horses, and I hitch them to the wagon, and they're pulling, and they're straining, and we're pushing. Okay, my friend, the ultimate question. The horses are straining, you're screaming, your horse. The oilam's pushing, they're splattered in mud, the luggage has disappeared in the quicksand. What do? You want to be a balagola, you got to be responsible. I'm asking, you got me? Go become a farmer. Balagola job. Not for me in this town at this time. But tell me, I always dreamed of being a balagola. You're a seasoned balagola. What would you have done? What would I have done? A good balagola avoids the mud. A good balagola never gets into the mud. A good balagola would never allow his horses to get bogged down in the mud. Zok the Rav, now you're coming to me. A good balagola doesn't say things you're not supposed to say. Doesn't say things that are improper. So now you have to extricate your foot toe by toe. A good balagola doesn't get into the mud. Rabbi's side, this is what Rav Pam is teaching us. We can avoid so much trouble if we follow the eights of Rabbi Yitzaleh, Peterburg Zatzal, Rabbi Chaim Oizer Zatzal. Think before you respond. Make a cheshbon. And in a certain way, it's easier than you think. You know, when a person hesitates, the fellow who responds right away is not really thinking about what you're asking. But a person who thinks through and formulates the words correctly, it's taka yomim neiroyim. It's not terrifying times, but it's also yomim nifloyim. It's wondrous times, the opportunity. What is a birthday? We're still on the birthday theme. I'll send regards to Rabbi Yankel. What is the birthday theme? The Lubavitcher Rebbe Zatzal said that when a person is created, the Rebbeinu Shalom is testifying that you are needed for Bria. The world is incomplete without you. There's Bria with you and without you. And the day you were born and brought into the world and given your bris, and you have your birthday and you go through life, Ben Shalom is testifying that you're needed for Bria. So I wanted to taina by extension, that's a birthday. The Ben Shalom is renewing his connection. He's saying, I have a commitment because you're still necessary. You're alive, the Beilam needs you. There was once a Yid, he was complaining to the Malach Hashem Tzvokes of Chatzka Levenstein. I've been showing an Elta Yid, I'm not accomplishing anything. He says, the Rebbeinu Hashem is like the Baal Betach HaRoshet. He owns the factory. And if there's anybody that's working in the factory, it's a simon, he needs him for the factory. If you're still alive, Boy Olam needs you for his Betach HaRoshet. Can't say I'm not necessary. You wouldn't be alive. A birthday reminds us of this. Chaim Zatzal flick zogen. Va'ato Yisroel, Mo Hashem Alekecha she'el mi'imach. V'ato, today. What does the Ben Shem want from me today? That's the renewal. That's the fresh approach to life every day of our lives. It's a new vista, new challenge, new opportunity, new privilege. More brachas, more chesed, more smiles, more thoughts, more Torah. What does Hashem want from me today? What does the Gemara say in this pasuk? Mo Hashem shel mi'amach kil miras Hashem aleikecha. So the Moshe, what does God want from us already? What's the größte Zach? He wants you to fear Hashem? No. Acquire Yirah Shamayim, it's no big deal. In fact, the Gemara, the Yirah Shamayim milsa zutrasa. Is Yirah Shamayim so easy? Is it such a cheap commodity? Yirah Shamayim is like the game of golf, or so I'm told, because I'm not a golfer. It takes an hour to learn and a lifetime to master. You want to master Yirah Shamayim, it's a ganze Leben. So Moshe Rabbeinu sagt, all Hashem wants is to have Yirah Shamayim. The Gemara, Yirah Shamayim milsa zutrasa. Says the Gemara, an outstanding teretz that baffles the mind. In Legabe Moshe milsa zutrasa. It's true. Yirah Shamayim is very easy. We're talking in the context of Moshe Rabbeinu. So we talk about Moshe Rabbeinu, was Mekabel the Torah, the Av HaNeviim, not just Av HaNeviim like Avram, but come Yisroel, Moshe Hoyd. Avad, the milsa zutrasa. It's an easy thing. But Bagufa, that's the kasha. The Gemara baffles the mind. You're asking a kasha, v'chi mils, Yirah Shamayim milsa zutrasa, and what's the teretz? In Legabi Moshe. Yeshikoyach. About Moshe Rabbeinu. Aspirations to be like Moshe Rabbeinu, but Legabi Moshe milsa zutrasa, how does that answer the kasha? Rabbi Simon Avzogan HaKnech. A different knech to what Legabe means. Legabe means not in the context, but when you're next to Moshe Rabbeinu, Legabe Moshe milsa zutrasa. If you're holding on to Moshe Rabbeinu's hand, then Yirah Shamayim is milsa zutrasa. Imagine, for whatever reason, you have to take a walk in the Lower East Side, middle of a hot summer in New York. Mention didn't bother getting dressed that day. Now you're going to be faced with such challenges. Nisyonis. Vayimoyin, what are you going to do? If you're holding on to a Moshe Feinstein's Zatzal's hand, milsa zutrasa, because you see the world through the prism of Ramoshe's vision. You don't see narishkeit. You don't see pritzis. You see a yid that needs a helping hand, a kind word, a dollar. Moshe was walking on East Broadway, a very important mission to attend a very important meeting. And a nudnik starts to talking about his sorrows for 20 minutes. He's holding our Moshe up, and he has all the patience in the world, the patience of our Moshe. And then when the fellow leaves and he gave him a dollar, he turns to his malaveh and he says, the chesed here was the 20 minutes. The anivis of Rabbi Moshe. Many years ago, when I was the Rav of Minneapolis, it was the middle of the winter, and I heard that one of the greatest Talmidim of Rav Pala Zatzal was in the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. So I took my young son, Chaim Shmayo, Neriyav Vizrach, he was about 8 years old. I went to the ice cream place, called Yisroel Soft Serve, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I filled up against the shisel, and I put it in the trunk. Trunk in the car in Minnesota in the winter, safest place. It's like 10 degrees without the wind chill. Frozen solid. Came in. I don't know if he said this honestly. He said, "Ich hab sich gechalisht für ein bisschen ice cream with mein Zung." I apologize. And he looked, Nishstein gedacht, hideous. He had barnacles coming out of his face. It can't be masig how terrible he looked. But Chesed Elyon, they helped him. And We're talking. And he said how he learned by Rav Pala. Remember, there was a bocha by Rav Pala. And it was the Levaya. The guy in Rabbi Sorotzkin Zatzal tells us Shiva. And Marina Rabbi Moshe Zatzal was in the Svardish shul. They were walking behind him, 5 Bachrim. And Moshe was walking ahead about 10 feet by himself to Gadol Hador. He's going to be Master Baruch, and they're downstairs by Svardish shul. They're going to come up in the front for the Levaya upstairs. So one Bachar turns to another Bachar and he says, Moshe, wie halt de Zega? Moshe, what time is it? Without batting an eyelash, spontaneously, Moshe turns around and he says, I felt Sophia. Could you imagine that? This wasn't a stage for the videos. There's nobody filming them. The Moshe thought a 17-year-old Bacha was calling him Moshe and asking Moshe what time it was, unhesitatingly. He turned around and he said, 3:45. Nobody called him Moshe. It was in his house when his Rebbetzin called him Meshe. He didn't call him Reb Moshe. Maybe it's Moshe Lieff, but nobody ever said Moshe Feinstein. So Reinu Agoy and Agodel Ram Shekol B'nei Agoy Mor and Sarah Teir Moshe. But he thought the Bacha was calling him Moshe. You know, Rabbi Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Zatzal was once together with Moran of Yashiv Zatzal and Rav Kulitz, the Goy and the Rav of Yerushalayim Zatzal. They were going through a very, very difficult sugya in a get. Spent over an hour, they couldn't make heads or tails. They picked up the phone, they called Rav Moshe. In 5 minutes, Rav Moshe was mazbeh the ganze matzav to these gdolim. They hung up the phone, and spontaneously they started dancing, the 3 of them. Moshe emes, v'serosa emes, Moshe. And this same Rav Moshe, that by Rebbe Shlomo Zalman said by his Levayim Yerushalayim would have been a gadol 200 years ago. Kid says, Moshe v'yal tezegi, he turns around. Shom moitze, du losen, amen sanusay. Oy Rabbi it was so good. We were zeichet to Rav Moshe, we were zeichet to Rebbe Shlomo Zalman, to Stipler, to Yashiv, to Ger Rebbe, to Samer Rebbe, to Lubavitcher Rebbe Zatzal. All these Gedolei Yisroel we lived with, we saw, we experienced. Legabe Moshe. Hold on to the must yuknoi of your Rebbe, of your Rav, of your Rosh Hashiva, of your Rebbe, and walk the streets proudly. I guarantee you, Moriva Rabbi, Rav Foshman Birnbaum Zatzal. Just take a walk every single day down King's Highway, from Ocean Parkway, Ocean Parkway to Ocean Avenue, and turn around and back. Doctor said he had to walk for his heart condition. His arms were swaying. So you think he's walking with his sombrero, looking at the ground, and he's looking to the right, he's looking to the left, he's up, he's down. He didn't see anything. He saw the Ktsois, the Maral Nacht, the Nesivis, the Shmeitze, he saw Kivega. You hold up Shmuel Birnbaum's hand, you're not looking at anything nasty. It's not going to happen. You're not going to say anything nasty. And even if the Rebbe's not alive, you can still hold on to his hand. You had a Zayda and a Bubba. You had a Rebbe, a Rav, a Mora. Hold on to the hand. The Rabbi Moshe Mills Zuchvasa. Every day is a new start. Every day is fresh. Steht in Posik, V'hoye kishiftoi al kisei malchusai. It's a strange word, kishiftoi. As when he sits. When he sits. He's crowned as the king. It's after the coronation. He's the king. What's a daily coronation? Kishiftoi. It should be as when he sits. Sagt Hagoyin at Tzadik Reb Motel Pragamanski Zatzal. The Rebbe of my Rebbe Reb Chaim Stein Zatzal, my Rebbe Reb Motel Gifte Zatzal. The Goyin, the Tzadik Reb Motel Pragamanski. He was in the Kovna ghetto. He lived on vapor. Nobody ever saw him eat. One day they came to him with a terrible sordid tale. The night before there had been an akaton where they took 5,000 little Jewish children They put him on trucks and a machine gun outside the city. 5,000 were killed. The next day, they saw dozens and dozens and dozens of pairs of tefillin strewn in the street. They thought it was the worst sight. So he said, "Du verstehst nicht what's happening? They're fighting with the Rebbeinu Shalom. They're making a macha. If they didn't believe in Hashem, what are they throwing away the tefillin for? It's not negaya. They want to protest the Rebbeinu Shalom in the strongest way possible, why the kids were taken, and they're throwing out the tefillin, but they believe in the Rebbeinu Shalom." There was once a lady, a guy in the Miller, does that sound? She's complaining, her parnosa, and she's not feeling well, and she's an almana. I don't believe in Hashem, I don't believe in Hashem, I don't believe in Hashem. It's all Hashem's fault. He says, "I haven't met a maimon more than you. You blame everything on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But you believe in Hashem." By the way, Rav Miller also would take what's called a constitutional, take a walk down Ocean Parkway. Now, my day, when I was a kid, the palatial homes are on Ocean Parkway, Avenue V, U, T. Beautiful homes. I mean, they cost like $50,000. Mansions. Rav Miller would walk by, stop, and look at the house. He'd look at the mosaic, he'd look at the garden, look at the waterfalls, look at the fountain, he'd look at everything. And then he'd say, "Gebench soll sein die Stub." His home should be blessed. Healthy children, teure, shalom bayis, chesed, gewaltige parnosa. Then he'd march on and walk to his little apartment on top of his shul on Ocean Parkway, not far from the Mir, between R and S. He didn't look askance, moisches. They're ostentatious. Ein Teuva. That's a godel. When I was in Kol Torah, the custodian, his name was Yusuf. And Yusuf bought a new dira. Moshe Zalman told him, "Yusuf, I want to ask you a favor. Kvod Harav. Before you move into the apartment, I want to see it. I want to give me a tour of the apartment before you move in." He bought it already. Moshe Zalman comes in with Yusuf. He sees the kitchen. He says, "Eze mitbach, what a beautiful kitchen. Your wife can make delicious, nutritious meals for the children. Eze salon. Eze cheder ochel. What a dining room. Eze cheder shina. Ambatya." He's mamish critiquing every single room in the house, praising the house. So afterwards, Yusuf said, "Kvod Harav, I mean, I bought it already, and you're not a real estate agent. What's going on?" He said, "Before, in your old dira, you have a very large family, Kanai Nahara. It was very cramped quarters. Tzafuf. When things are tight, there's a problem with Shalom Bais. It's a bigger dira. I wanted to give your apartment a bracha, an ayin toiva, the dining room, the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom." Where did Moshe Zalman learn this from? From Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, 515 times, he wants to enter Yisroel for himself. He wants to be Mekayim Mitzvah Tluyas Boretz. But Hashem says, "Ravloch al Tosef daber le'od b'dav hazeh." Finito. It's over. Say two. That's all she wrote. And then the Hashem says, "Alei Rosh HaPiska." Go up on the mountain, on the summit, and look at this land. To the right, to the left, before, behind. Look at this land, at this beautiful land. What's that Kodesh Baruch Hu doing? He wants to rub his nose in the dirt. He's not going to be able to fly over Eretz Yisrael even as a bird. Moshe Rabbeinu, his reaction should have been, "I can't go to Eretz Yisrael. I'm vergrumpt, I'm upset, I'm angry. I don't want to look at Eretz Yisrael." But he looks at Eretz Yisrael with an ayin tova, and he invests the land with the look of Moshe Rabbeinu. For Hatzlocha, for Shalom Bayis, for Panosa, for Gesund, for gute Kinder. That's the approach of a Gadol. That's Moshe Rabbeinu, that's Rav Miller, that's Rav Shlomo Zalman. That's Lagabe Moshe Milsa Zurchvasa. Okay. Getting ready to wrap it up soon. A lot of different ways we can go. Kiyudua, ani l'doidi v'doidi li. I am to the Rabbeinu Shalom, Rabbeinu Shalom is to me, which simply means I put into it what I get out of it. What I put into it, the Rabbeinu Shalom will put in his relationship with me. Ani l'doidi, b'mei l'doidi li. I daven, I'm erloch, I say l'dover Hashem, I listen to Kiyah Shoifa, I say sliches, Hashem will be there for me. Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. Bo rato adinoi le'enu melech olam sha'akol niyeh b'dvarei. But then, another pasuk in Sha'ashirim that's punkt fakelt. Doidi li v'ani loi haroya b'asheshanim. My beloved is to me and I am to him, a shepherd with shoshanim, with the fragrance of flowers, of roses. What do you mean, Hashem? Roya b'asheshanim. Zogt hagoyim Moshe Zal v'eichik zatzal. Rosh Yeshiva in Lucerne, there's different types of shepherds. There's a shepherd with a staff. There's a makel. The sheep veer off from the path, gives them a little schmeiss. They're back on the path. There's a shepherd bekoil. He has a booming voice. A shepherd starts to stray, calls him back. There's a shepherd bekelev with a sheep's dog. The dog is roaming. If the sheep veer from the path, the dog nips him back to place. And then there's a roya b'asheshanim. There's a shepherd that creates such an incredible fragrance that the sheep never stray. And if they do, they smell those roses, those flowers, and they're back. Doidi li v'ani loi haroya b'asheshanim. The Rabbeinu Shalom is a shepherd with flowers, with the pleasantness, with the aroma of Torah, of mitzvahs, of tefillah b'tzibur. Doidi li, he shepherds us with those sheshanim. Two maises. One maise is in Zichron Moshe Shul, legendary Zichron Moshe Shul. There was a fellow several years ago who lived in England. He always mocked but never to miss tefillah b'tzibur at any cost. Financial, emotional, physical. After the flight from London is delayed and delayed and delayed, and there's fog. He finally lands in Ben Gurion, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. He hasn't davened Ma'ariv yet. So he rushes to Zichron Moshe Shul in Yerushalayim, and he sees another fellow in the Bais Medrash. He says to him, "You think there'll be a minyan for Ma'ariv?" He says, "I don't know, beats me. So far it's me and you." Takes out his phone, and he calls Moniot Eisenbach. And he רוצה להזמין Moniot. I want to be mazmin taxis. I need taxis. Van Zichron Moshe. Okay. We have 6 taxis. Calls another chevra. What's the last min shte moniot? Another 2. Taxis arrive. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30. And their engines are going. They're gunning. And you see this guy outside and he says, Eifa nosim? Where are the travelers? You ordered 8 cabs. He said, Atem nosim. You're the travelers. Nachna nosim. Some sugar English, what's he talking about? He said, אני צריך מניין במעריב. תיכנסו. And he says the magic word that every taxi driver in Eretz Yisrael is chalashing for. He davens on Rosh Hashanah for. Hakol lefi hamoneh. Keep the meter running. Okay, Meshugana. The meter's running. And they come to shul. Pulls out yarmulkes. Some knew, some didn't know. They daven Maariv. If the Maariv, he gathers them together, come and magir lachem. Chol ha'pachot 200-300 shekel. What do I owe you? At least 200 shekel. First guy says, B'tpalel ma'ariv im tzadik kamocha? I don't want a penny. Second guy says, first time in my life I ever daven Maariv. Third guy says, what is chut? 8 taxi drivers and nobody took a penny. That's Raya Bashishanim. Rabbi say, I mean, you know, I love the taxi drivers, but the minute you get in the cab, today, yesh chok chadash, and then they call the dispatcher. Nachon, im mishtamshim ba'bagaj, tzrichim לשלם עוד 50 shekel. You put suitcase into the trunk, it's another 50 shekel. Surcharge. עוד 50 shekel, אני צריך לקנות, ערב שבת, פרחים בשביל השוויגה. Gotta buy flowers for my mother-in-law. And the price is coming out of nowhere. 8 taxi drivers, nobody took a penny. Roya Bashishan. Second Maisa. In Haifa, there was a Chof Nifrad. Separate hours, different genders. Hour for the men, hour for the ladies. A lot of Fruma Yidden went swimming. Everybody was happy. But the Rosh Yeshiva of the beach, the Mankal, אני אוהב גריל מורב, אני רוצה חוף מורב. Take it away, my old Abba. My eyes are working like windshield wipers. I'm seeing the sights I'm not supposed to see. I was a chutzpah. I didn't take this job to watch men in the pool. He was very upset. One day, the kids come to the beach. He walks over to like 100 kids, and he says, Ani ohev otchem, I love you. They say, uh-oh, looks like trouble looming on the horizon. Lo bemet, ani ohev otchem. He reaches into his pants, and he pulls out a pair of tzitzis. And one kid says, Ma itcha v'atzitziot. What are you doing with tzitzis? He said, Etmol haya pekak. It was a traffic accident and a traffic jam. And I came very late to the beach, and the word went around, Haifa, Chof Chinam. Forget about 35 shkolim to go swimming, it's free. And hundreds of people went swimming for free. But I came finally to the beach when it was time for Chof Nifrad. And I saw hundreds of Erlich Yidden milling about. Not one person walked into the water. It cost 35 shkolim to go swimming. We're not allowed into the water. I decided I want to be like you people. That's Roya Bashoshanim. There's a Gemara in Makis, and Daf Chav Daled and Aleph. Omarove, Mistapina Mahai Krov Avadatim Bagoyim. I'm terrified of the pasuk. You'll be lost amongst the nations of the world. I'm scared there won't be Jews for Mashiach's Chayslesen. I don't want to terrify anybody, but in 1990, Federation in the United States had a study. And they asked the question, what happened to the missing Jews? See, after World War II, there had been 18 million Jews, and Hitler Yamach Shemay killed 6 million. 12 million were left. From 1945 until 1990, according to regular progression, there should have been 20 million Jews. They counted only 13 million in the whole world. What happened to those 6 million Jews? Assimilation, acculturation, intermarriage. Today, Rachman Litzlan, they say 70% of Yidden intermarry. Every 10 chasen is 7 atagoy. Before 1960, it was less than 7%. People said Shiva, they taught Kriya, they said Kaddish. Winning the battle, losing the war maybe. Zokt, Rove, Vavadetem Bagoyim, I'm scared, Tovshim Pei Gimel, there won't be Jews for Mashiach to Chayslesen. To be goyal. Maske Flora Papa, Vidilma Kaveda Mispakeshes, Dechsiv Toisi Kise Oived Bakish Avdecha. Maybe they'll be lost. But like lost objects, they're looking to be found. As David HaMelech says, I've strayed. Like a lost sheep. Bottom of the Yomid. Bakesh es avdecha, look for your servant. Frag the levush moltre. And going to Moshe Moltre, Epstein's that so. Chevin Rosh Shiva. What's the difference between Aveda Misbakesh and Aveda Shenem Misbakeshes? A lost object looking to be found and not looking to be found. He says, let's say you're walking down Coney Island Avenue, or Hennepin in Minneapolis, and you have $100,000 unmarked bills, and you lose it. You retrace your steps once, twice, 3 times, 5 times. You cry out like Claudius has cried for thousands of years. Vai li lechasorin kiss. Woe to me for the loss of such an incredible amount of money. Because that's an Aveda She'enim Mispakeshes. The money is not looking to be found. Somebody walked away with it and it's over. But let's say there's a sheep that's separated from the flock, from the shepherd. Just as the shepherd is yearning and searching for the sheep is bleeding and crying and yearning to be found. That's Aveda Mispakeshes. When the shepherd is looking for the sheep and the sheep are looking to be found, they'll be reunited. It says, I'm terrified. Won't be any Jews left. Dr. Puppet, don't be nervous. They're going to be like lost sheep. They're looking to be found. The Chsiv David HaMelech says, Kuf Yutes, tell him the longest kapitel all about the Torah, To'isi have strayed. Kiseh oived, like a lost sheep, Bakei shavdecha Hashem, look for me because I'm looking for you. That's Elul. Every Yid, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, has gaguyim and kisufim to be reunited with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When we're looking for Hashem and He's looking for us, we'll be reunited. And now, the last shtickle. Moran Yuma says, Shlokish gave a shir. Gedoy l'tshuva, shema peches, stoyna yis l'shkoges. Tshuva is great, it turns averis you ever bemazed into shogeg. Instead of saying that you ate chaylev, bemazed it right b'shogeg, machal Shabbos b'shogeg, it's a chat, it's not skila. Talmidim say, Rebbe, one moment. We have a tiny. Last year you said a much more exhilarating, scintillating shir. Last year you said, Gedoy l'tshuva shema peches, stoyna yis l'zochiyos. The Averis become mitzvahs. You didn't speak Lashon Hara. You said the Parashat V'Rama Yeviravi. You didn't steal money. You gave money to the Bais HaMikdash, the Bais. It's a steer. So Krishlokish kan tshuva miyira, kan tshuva meyava. You do tshuva from yira, so you turn your Averis, bemazed into shaking. Meyava, you turn Averis into mitzvahs. Tshuva meir is evil. Get a Peliyayitz. Reishis Chochma, see how they, I'm not talking about the Alf Bais book. See how Allah said, Lovi, they're going to string you up by your eyeballs. You looked at the wrong thing, by your tongue. If you said the wrong thing, it's easy to do, but Tshuva meir, you're terrified. But how do you do Tshuva me'ava? I love you, I love you, I love you. Zok the Nefesh HaChaim was going to learn it inside. There's no time. Nefesh HaChaim in Shaldalitz is a dove and nifla. Yisroel says we can't pay for the chatas for the ocean. Says, Ben Shema never ask you for that. Chui mochem dvorim, ein dvorim ala Torah. Just learn Torah, you'll be forgiven. Says, look the Medrash. Tshuva me'ava, turn averis into mitzvahs, b'mokim shbali tshuva oimtim tzadikim kum l'chel ma'amoid. How many mitzvahs you have at Lulav and Esrog? 1. You look at the wrong thing, you have 1,000 averis, you turn them into mitzvahs in a flash. That's Esek HaTorah Kuroi. Hashivenu avinu l'sol l'secha. Tekovenu makenu l'secha. V'achazorenu b'shuv shleim avanecha. More in Brochus, after Vovim at Bais, the Zayin at Aleph. Holam kenecholim. Ma necholim malim. Mituma l'tara. Af ayiholim malim mikaf choyvel l'kaf schus. You go into the mikveh, you become Torah if you're Tameh. You learn about Gemara, you learn a pasuk Chumash. It turns your Averis into mitzvahs. It's called Tshuva Me'ava, Rabbi say. Esek HaTorah Karoi, no cell phones, no beepers, no timeouts. Complete immersion. Shem Yishmuel Mesachachov says, what's mikvah? How does mikvah purify a person? You have a sea creature, you put him in the Land, he's going to die. A land creature in the sea dies. A Yid who's a land creature immerses himself in the mikveh, completely submerged, and he's disconnected from life support. He comes out, it's Tchiyas HaMesim. He's a different person. Kakatan Shenel Adami. He's not Esmo Meshukatz Tayeva, he's a different person. That's mikveh. That's Torah. You learn about Gemara. A lady learns Mesil Shishorim or Ramban. A pasuk Chumash with Rashi, you have to be a different person, a different human being, a different husband, a different wife, a different child, a different parent, a different yid, a different mensch. It's mahapech. It's doinois tezochiyos. That's the beauty of Torah. That's the koyach of tshuve. Hashivenu avinu sa'asecha. V'kovenu malkenu v'desecha. You know, I had a fellow in Minneapolis, his name was Mayor Avigdor Levi Stall. He was a chayzer b'tshuva. So we worked in the higher echelon office, and he took off for the first time 2 days Rosh Hashanah. So they told him, you Jews know how to party, they told him, Mike Stahl. 2 days New Year, you Jews know how to party. So he told me. I told him diametrically opposed. Their New Year, they lose themselves. Our New Year, we find ourselves. It's all about a Kabbalah La'aseh, Rabbi say. It's all about the birthday of the world. Who does Hashem need for next year? Ben Shem Zalhelfen, he needs all of us. He needs our commitment of renewal, of starting fresh. Reb Shelley Lang, my good friend, was telling me that the average kidney transplant has a waiting list, a non-Jew, a Yehudi, of 5 years. And by that time, either Rahman al-Tzalem, a person's on dialysis or a lepshinisht. He said from the time he was cleared for a kidney transplant, renewal got him a kidney in 3 days. 3 days, a donor, Chesed Elyon, he's alive and well and healthy, and he says a shir in the morning. That's renewal. That's Klal Yisrael. That's Masaskim. It's all the organizations help Rabbeim and help Rabbeim and Kohen Galite. It's Klal Yisrael's Chesed, myriads and myriads of organizations. Because we understand the value of every Yid. We understand the value of every day. Kodesh Baruch Hu is renewing the contract on Rosh Hashanah. It's all about B'asher Hu Sham, what you are today. Let's be makabel on ourselves, to think before we speak, like Rav Pam said. To be a kind of Yid that the Umas HaOlam will say you can trust them, it's Elul. You can trust Flatbush and Minneapolis and Milwaukee and Los Angeles and Yerushalayim and Elad. It's Elul. The Jews are trustworthy in Elul. It'll carry over to the entire world. We should be zeiche to the broches haksuvas sefer Torah hazeh. We should zeiche b'siyata d'shmaya to aksiv v'chsim etayv lonu u'lechol Yisroel. On the dot, Rabbi. On the dot.
Shem Irgin Shir Moses Boston, I feel big as a character of Lieff for the inspiring drosha. Tonight's year was learned the Nishmas Nasanota Ben Simcha of Shalom Yosef Chof of Tenish Post Shura B'Tzorah Chaim. Have the great source of sponsoring a shir and help Irgin Shir Torah continue being Mechazik the Tzibur Rabbatzas HaTorah throughout the year worldwide. Call Irgin Shir Torah 718-851-8651. Email ist@yeshivanet.com. Sponsor one of the remaining shiurim. I'll put an ad in the dinner journal. The occasion of Irgin Shir Torah's annual dinner next Wednesday, August 23rd. And we have a chelik on the buses of Torah of Irgin Shir Torah worldwide. 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Chananya v'nakah Shem HaRatzah Baruch Hu l'zakes es Yisrael l'fig hibrim Torah mitzvah shenamar l'nei chofetz aman sidkei yagdol Torah v'yader.